Hello, everybody. Welcome. We had a slight delay getting into our HR huddle today. Happy Monday. Happy tax deadline day for those of you that are running that marathon. We know there's other deadlines and project completions happening as well. So we hope your team musters up the last, little bit of energy here to cross those hurdles, and everyone's doing well and staying healthy. And that, I think, leads us into the topic we thought we would explore today. And that is, what are we going to do to Velcro our people back to us after these hurdles that we've been running together? And we thought we would talk with the HR leaders here and other leaders that attend our HR huddles with us and talk about some strategies to do that. We have a saying in public accounting that May and November, but May for sure is often quitting season. And we want to minimize that as much as possible. And we know people have been quitting all year long, that it's not a expected behavior to wait till after deadlines to quit anymore. So we know it's been happening. But also, I think, once we do get past some of these deadlines and some of these hurdles, that people take a breath, come up and say, now what? And we've been hearing a lot, I don't want to do that again. And we know we've been talking about the capacity challenge for a while now, even before the pandemic. And then that's really ramped it up the last 2 years. We know mental health awareness is on the rise. We also know there are a lot of choices for people for what they want to do with their work. The pandemic gave people time to pause and say, what are my priorities? So all of that is culminated with, how do we, create an environment and workplace and work style and work-life balance and all of that is going to create that stickiness for our people and have them be engaged. So we're worrying about that a little bit, right, Jen?
No doubt. And I was just, we don't want to be Chicken Little, okay? So we're not trying to say the sky is falling. We want to be optimistic and positive, and we want to be can do. And I began to shift my computer as I realized that the entire sign behind me was not, showing choose joy. So I moved it so you could see choose joy over there, over here, I guess. So we want you to choose joy in your work, and we don't believe that what we're doing is supposed to be as hard as it appears to be. Now, there's been nothing easy about the pandemic. There was nothing easy about basically a 2-year long busy season that is not over on the tax side and audit and continuous deadlines. There's nothing easy about that. Capacity issues. I mean, we can make the list of the stuff that's not easy. We get it. But we can choose the business strategies that we commit to, and we can choose the vision that we create. Where are we headed together on this road trip called our firm? And what is it going to feel like along the way? And when we get to this new destination, this vision for the future, we can choose those things. And I think a lot of us are operating in some sort of hamster wheel daily, like we're not choosing anything. This is all being perpetrated against us or something. And I was on a live stream last Friday, and my partner on it said, our profession is hard. And as it was being said, I thought, why? Wait. We're not building the pyramids or something. I mean, I get that. Mm-hmm. This is a knowledge worker people profession, and we get to choose who we serve and what services we offer and how we deliver them and how much automation we have and how we staff them and how we price for them. We have a lot of choice, and the market's never been better for us to make some of those choices and start pruning the tree of this firm that is hard to keep alive, that we don't love all the time. Let's prune some of the branches off of it. Let's have people that don't fit or are toxic not work here anymore. Let's prune clients that don't fit or are toxic and have them not be clients anymore. For services that don't make sense, let's prune those off by either removing them and quitting them or selling them. I mean, I just edited, Tamera, for our mutual friends, the article about them in retirement. Two of the partners were leaving, and the young folks said, we don't want this piece of the practice. When you guys go, sell this thing before you go, because we don't want it. We're not going to buy it. We don't want to serve it. We don't want to have anything to do with it. And they literally took 20% of the practice, maybe 25%, and they sold it to someone else, and everyone's happy. The clients that got moved went to a place where they could be happy, where somebody loved their work. Some of the people that loved that work inside the firm went with it, and they're thrilled. The people that survive in the new firm missing that 20%, 1 year later, they haven't missed a beat. They've filled the 20%. They sold it into their new services. They're at the same size or bigger than they were before. They didn't miss a beat at all. And they're
more profitable, happier, lighter.
Oh my gosh. And what did they do? They chose joy. They said, we're going to do some dirty work. We're going to say some things that are scary to say. We're going to then make some decisions that are super hard to make. And then we're going to go out and execute, have conversations that are rough. But when they were finished, we're going to have something we love. And somebody asked me today, Tamera, is that a fairy tale? I hear you talking and I think, I want that, but is that possible for real? And I said that I thought maybe 1 out of every 15 firms we meet, 10 to 15 firms is really pursuing a strategy of building something they can get excited about that isn't drudgery. It's not, this is hard. It's not, I don't like it, but I do it because we make good money. They're building something exciting and cool, and you can too. Now, there are another 10 to 12 or 14 firms that aren't doing it, right? And that are drudging along on the treadmill, complaining about it. But I said to this young person, I said, a lot of those people that are making you think it's not possible are going to be retired or not even alive in 10 to 15 years. I know that sounds really mean and awful, but they're not part of the future. They're not on this road trip with us for the whole time. And I don't know why we would allow them to call out, like the speed, the vehicle, the destination, make us sit in the way back. I don't know why we would do that anymore. We don't have to. Our future leaders need to step up and say, here's what we think needs to happen. And we're willing to say what needs to be said and do the hard stuff to get there because we want a firm we love. And then we'll buy that firm from you guys.
Right.
Let us have it. And I want to see that transition so badly.
I agree. And I just think, and it is possible. So, we see 1 in 10 or 1 in 12 or whatever the number is. So we know it's possible and we've seen it executed. We've seen the hard decisions. And I think in addition to choosing joy, it's have faith, have a vision and then have faith, put that stake in the ground and then march towards it. Mm-hmm. And you'll learn things along the way and you'll, maybe find new directions or things that we can do differently, but have that movement be forward instead of that hamster wheel that you were talking about, Jen, or, that complacency. And I think that's one of the things that is going to scare your people away. One of the number one things is if we don't see any change and we don't see any movement towards that future and a future they're inspired about, that they want to buy, that they want to own and come to work every single day. That, we have to, make that movement. We have to clear the obstacles, the path, to be able to, forge forward with that. I think it's, so important. And so ask your people, what do they want? And then we have to do it though. I think that's one of the things that, I was worrying about, with this topic that, we plan to come to is, we can't just give lip service. We can't go do, post-mortem after busy season here or round tables and talk about what are we going to do differently and then not do anything. we really have to, take the feedback and make it happen and move it forward. And we have all the reasons why we can't or shouldn't or don't want to. I think a big part of it is I don't want to. I get it. It's like I want to enjoy my summer. I don't want to make those, hard decisions. I don't want to have those conversations. I don't want to, implement new technology, whatever it is. I don't want to call clients. That's scary. It's relationships, it's money, all of that. But where are we headed, and what is it going to look like in January 2023 or September 2022?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I do want us to picture the longer range vision, because that's something people can get bought into, and not some BS vision that you don't think you're really committed to, as Tamara said. But yeah, we also need a short-term vision, like what route are we taking between here and September, Labor Day?
Right.
Going to make my Labor Day to Thanksgiving not a nightmare. How could it be better than the spring just was? What are we going to do right away to do that? And Tamara, I've also been thinking a lot about like, what's the best way to facilitate that?
Yeah.
If it were me, I would ask my nucleus of future leaders, whoever that is, the young partners, newer partners, future leaders, maybe principals, senior managers, depending on your size of firm, maybe even into manager. If you're a smaller firm, those might be, you might just go right from manager to partner in your firm. So I don't listen to me on title, but the ones that you think are really going to run this thing into the future that you could picture might buy it, and do a keep, stop, start with them and say, hey, if you could only pick 3 things to absolutely keep about our business, 3 things to 100% stop, and 3 things to start, what would they be? And you can say you can be as big or as small, because I will tell you, in some firms, they'll put under stop, Tamara, and this is going to sound mean, stop letting this guy, his name is this, work here anymore. I mean, it might be like that small of a grain of sand of change, which, by the way, is not small.
It's not small.
If people think that person needs to leave, but it's not like, automate the 990 process or, whatever, which might be a little bigger in terms of scope. But you kind of leave it to them, and then maybe they could submit those anonymously, or they submit them to a non-judgmental internal person who isn't going to tattle on them, or they give it to an outside third party like Convergence or other third party consultants to the profession, of which there are lots of wonderful, talented folks out there that could collect that data for you and could bring it back then, summarized, because there will be some consistent themes. I can guarantee it. And then you start to say, okay, between here and, these themes are pointing us to these top 2 or 3 priorities. Between here and September, which ones can we get done?
Right.
Now, I do know that part of what has to happen between here and September is some sort of expanded capacity for almost everybody. Right?
I was just going to say that, because that's probably going to be either a stop or a start or both. Mm-hmm. And we got to get really specific about what are we going to do? We got to stop talking about outsourcing or fractional employees or offshoring and go try it. Go pick a group that we're going to try it with. We have to stop talking about culling clients and say this group doesn't fit, and do it. Exactly.
And we know who they are.
We need to adopt that tagline. Just do it.
Yeah, we just finished serving those clients that need to be fired. We know, I mean, or we haven't finished because they're extending, so that agreed, Tamara. Now, one of the things we've been talking about in the past, we've kind of called it non-traditional capacity. And we've started to call it dynamic capacity strategies, because what we want you to do is picture that you're building strategies that you can turn on and off like a faucet. So we're going to have offshore resources that we can commit to for a busy season, but maybe they're not long. We might not need them the following busy season. Right. It's hard to say. And we're going to commit to, having culling clients, and we're going to go through a round of culling clients. And then we might, have better client acceptance procedures, and maybe we don't have to do that all the time. It's not, some of these might be on-off strategies. They might be one-time strategies. Some of them are going to be forever strategies. And it's all on the intention to have a dynamic capacity that you can increase as you have increased work. And you do it without like saying, okay, we'll just have to grow our own and we'll have some increased capacity in, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. We need something a lot faster than that, 3 to 5
And we
months.
need both.
Both.
It's an and strategy. It's not an or strategy. It's an and strategy. We've got to be, figuring out how do we invest and grow our own and keep that engine going, or restart our interns if we haven't been doing them, or whatever that might be, to have, people coming up. And then we also need to say, what are some of those dynamic, capacity strategies to make sure we have people at all levels during the right times, doing the right kind of work that we need when we need it. So
Tamera, I'm going to tell you that, like, I think capacity is like number one that would cause people to quit, because it feels like we're ditch diggers or something. And people went to college and, took these professional services jobs thinking, I'm not going to be a ditch digger. I don't have to. I'm going to do this instead. And now they feel like they're putting in that same physical effort, literally, because of the capacity problem that we have. So that's number one. I would also say, like, 1A, right next to it, is the excising of toxicity. And I posted something on LinkedIn over the weekend. Maybe I could have posted it on Friday. I'm not sure when I did exactly, but a young lady, it's very public, so you can go read it if you want to hunt it down, wrote a story of her life at a firm. And, we don't know their story, but we know hers reading it. And her story was, she worked in an office where there was a clique of 3 people who made her feel terrible and unwelcome. And she hated going into that office, hated it. And so she tried a lot of things to make that better, but she ended up getting permission when she had to go to an office to go a significant drive further and be officed somewhere else, because this clique was allowed to just sort of do their thing. And it was off-putting, to say the least. And it's not always a clique of toxicity. Sometimes it's a person. Sometimes it's just a really negative culture in an entire group.
Practice group.
Yeah. Or maybe they've got some bad habits that feel toxic.
Yep.
I'm not judging it right now because it's hard to gauge, but I will tell you this, right? Nothing will chase your people away faster. Nothing. And we're spending a fortune trying to recruit, train, support, engage, motivate, tether these people to us, love them into staying forever. We pray that they will succeed us. And then we have toxicity that we allow to poison them and poison our well. And I'm heartbroken by it. And we see it, like the young person that asked me, do you ever see anybody who chooses joy and is really going after that strategically? I can say 1 in 15 or something. It's not that common, but it's there. Toxicity, 50%, right. More maybe.
Right.
And maybe it's not all toxic, but they're putting up with a pocket of toxic. And it's because we don't want to create conflict, or because that office or that person or whatever is high performing, or because we don't have anybody behind them to serve those clients. So we're just going to wait till we finally have somebody behind them. You'll never have anybody behind them. No one will come up behind them. The reason you have no one behind them is because they chased everyone off. No, I'm serious. So get rid of the whole practice. Excise it out. Start over. Nothing is worse. I would put it as priority 1, but capacity as priority 2, because actually capacity will increase as soon as you reduce toxicity.
It really does. And that seems counterintuitive. So, and Jen, you're talking about like some big toxic issues. There's some, I don't know if it's, sub toxic issues that we like minimize. Like we're like, that's not really an issue. Like lack of consistency. I don't have to follow the rules. I don't have to use that technology. My clients don't fit that. I've been here. I know what is needed. I mean, the list goes on, right? But that causes toxicity, and it's like under the radar almost, but it's not. And so we have to, get real about those things as well, and just say we are on a team. and we are playing by the playbook. And if you are going left and the ball is coming towards you and you're supposed to be right, we are going to lose the game. That's just how it is. So we all got to follow the same playbook. We need to embrace the technologies. We need to embrace the workflow. We need to agree on what our client acceptance procedures are, and have a no tolerance, rule that if you're not following that, we're going to address it. And part of that is, overcoming our lack of conflict. We don't want to, address conflict, but your future leaders will respect you and appreciate it when you do, because they're watching that going, no, why do I want to be part of this when we can't be aligned and we say one thing and do another? It lacks integrity, and integrity is a cornerstone value for all, all our whole profession. Most firms have it listed, so we have to, follow that. So I would put that as maybe a B under your.
Well, and what you're talking about is a lack of compliance. It's a lack of compliance, and it is a form of toxicity, because I don't have to, I'm better than you, or I'm above the law. It's an above the law sort of thing. But you're right. It's not the same as that person's mean to me and speaks meanly to me, or says mean things, or writes mean things, or whatever. You're right. We might judge them as not as bad or something,
right.
but
so
they
allow it, but it's
bad. It's super bad. And it makes me think about this webinar that we're producing, that Samantha and I have been working on our team. And it made me go dig up a blog I wrote for the J of A, Caroline, that we should find. Samantha will have the link to 8 things that leaders do that drive their people away. And they're, when you read them, they're gnarly, and they're not uncommon. Sadly, they're darn common. And that's why we wrote about them.
Years ago, and it's still happening today.
Oh, it's worse. I mean, I'd say the volume's been turned up because the leaders are getting closer to being done, and they really don't want to change.
Right.
And yet they don't want to quit milking the cow, because the cow's putting out some good milk right now. So anyway, let's post that with this, if we could, Caroline, because I think people would benefit from it. And, so those are 2 things to look hard at, right? As we think about how are we going to build a practice that we really love, that brings us joy? How are we going to keep our people and keep them enrolled in the possibility that they can build a firm they love and they can take over something really fantastic? We're going to do it by addressing their keep, stop, start, but also knowing we have to have some messages around capacity and dynamic capacity. And we have to not just have messages, as Tamera said, no lip service, but also specific summer strategies, that who owns doing what by when, and let's huddle every 10 days to talk about it. And then also we have to eliminate these pockets of toxicity or lack of compliance, consistency, that are sitting there just driving our poor people crazy. And it makes them hopeless. They're hopeless when we allow it. And they're so hopeful when we speak about it, where they're like, you know about this, and you're serious because you're talking about it. And then you do something. Nothing can create more energy and hope than that. So we
will rally around you. Yes. Take the action. We know it'll make a difference. So,
and message us, by the way, because what we're talking about is hard. We know how to do it, and we have all kinds of strategies and blogs and resources and podcasts and webinars and friends who've done it and all that kind of stuff. Let us help.
We have a blog on Give Your People Hope. So that's another one we should dig up,
yes.
Caroline. I wrote that blog too. We do have resources. We can also introduce you to firms, that are seeing it's possible and making it possible and making some of those decisions. We can help you navigate those conversations. So let us know how we can support you in that. And we would love to dialogue with you on it or make connections. We know it will be worth it. So we hope that you get into action immediately and pull your leaders together and pull your future leaders together and start making some decisions and driving some action. So
yes.
Have a great week, and we will see you next week. Jen will be here next week. I will be traveling to a leadership workshop. So Jen will be with you next week, and we will talk soon. Message us with any thoughts you have. Thank you so much.